everyone, today we'll present to you how to start with Django. Once you launch the software, this is what you will see. Here, you have the render window, where you can see the shapes and animations you will create. Underneath this window, you will find a keyboard. This is where you can change the shapes as well as the layout. On the first line, you can choose between 8 different basic shapes, by either clicking on it or by pressing the right key on your keyboard. Notice how fluid the transition between the different shapes are. On the second line, you can choose the layout of the shapes you previously selected. If you have selected the random layout, you can press the spacebar to reposition your shapes in other random places. You can also use the arrows on your keyboard. The left and right arrows allow you to increase or decrease the number of sides of each shape. And with the up and down arrows, you can increase or decrease the amount of shapes you see on the render window. If you also press the Shift key, you can add shapes 6 by 6. Now that you have a shape and a layout, you will want to animate it. For that, you can use the setting window on the right. But if you want, you can do basic animation by simply left-clicking on the render window and moving your mouse around. The trail setting will define how long you will see the trail the shapes make while moving them. Here's what it looks like at 0, and you can see the trail appearing and being quite visible. When changing the time, you can observe the trail being less pronounced. Let's now see the color setting. Here, you will be able to change the background color, which is black by default. For the shapes, you can choose between 2 modes, the hue gradient and the color gradient. With the hue gradient, you will see every color of the chromatic circle. You can also change the saturation of the colors. With the color gradient, you can choose 2 colors and it will create a gradient between those 2. Another thing with the hue gradient is that you can control which portion of the circle you want to choose. If you go from 0 to 360, you will see the whole chromatic circle. If you decide to choose a lower number, the number of different colors will decrease. But if you choose a higher number, the number will increase, as you can see now. Next is the wind setting. This is where you can set the wind parameters. The lower the parameters are, the more stable the shape is. In the particle setting, you will be able to define the size as well as the number of particles you want for your shapes. If you choose a small enough amount of particles, it can even create gaps in your shapes. As you can see, there is a small animation when you add or remove particles to your shape. The next setting is the random setting, which can be used with the random layout you can find on the keyboard. It will allow you to have an influence on the random disposition of the particles. Finally, now that you have set the wind and particles, you will want to change the physics setting. This setting will control the wind resistance of each particle that creates the shape. With pulsation, you will control how strong the link between each particle is. The higher the parameter is, the harder it will be to move them. As for the damping ratio, it will determine how long it will take for the particles to go back to their initial place. So these are all the settings you have when you first download the software. In each setting, you can find a preset parameter with every preset already available. You can go on each setting and change it, or you can go to the preset window where all presets are grouped together. Finally, on the upper left corner of the screen, you will find 3 parameters. The first one is the render areas, where you can change the setting of the render window. With the second one, you can choose which window you want to see on your screen. You only need to click on the name for it to appear or disappear. Finally, you can choose to select the live parameter, which will remove some unnecessary windows from your screen for an easier experience. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on our different social media for more content.